There's something serious here, and that is why Twitter wanted to squelch it. It's the Magistrate Bruce Reinhart meme that brought tears to progressive hearts and gales of laughter to normal, happy people. Hey, everybody, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott, and this is Right Angle, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Gentlemen, I know you saw this stuff backstage, but I must share it again, hopefully with a broader audience here. There's a kind of a little-known meme maker on Twitter, What I Meme to Say. You should check him out. You should follow him. I think I did that just the other day, at long last. He took Exhibit A. There you go. This photo is from the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, and if Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. Anyway, let's move on now to Exhibit B. This is a selfie posted by the magistrate himself back in 2017. And when I see this picture, all I can think is the majesty of the law. And finally, Exhibit C. Here we have the meme made by What I Meme to Say. And in case you think this might be real, there's an actual watermark there that says What I Meme to Say. This is an obvious fake. It's a forgery. It's a joke. It's comedy humor. And who doesn't love comedy humor? Well, Bill, turns out the folks at Twitter don't like comedy humor. They locked What I Meme to Say out of his account, demanded that he take this thing down. And they said, excuse me, they warned him, you may not share deceptively altered media on Twitter in ways that mislead or deceive people about the media's authenticity, where threats to physical safety or other serious harm may result. Now, Bill, when you saw that totally legitimate photo of Reinhart and Maxwell, your first thought, am I right, was to hop aboard that private jet and throttle Reinhart.
I don't have that kind of free time, Steve. So there's a couple things in play here. First of all, political cartooning is as old as being able to draw. And the classic political cartoonist in American history, Thomas Nast, would do caricatures of the people who were corrupt, greedy, thieves. And he actually brought them down. He actually brought down the Teapot Dome and Boss Tweed and all the rest of it. He did it by drawing pictures of him that were unflattering. And this is called freedom of speech and freedom of expression. And this is also what the press is supposed to do with everybody. You're supposed to find people who are worthy of contempt and who have shown fairly conclusive proof of wrongdoing. And then people like Nast or this guy go out and lampoon them, because laughing at somebody is the ultimate weapon. Mark Twain, who knew a thing or two about making people laugh, said this again and again and again and again and again. Nothing can stand in the face of ridicule. So clearly, this is a cartoon. It is a caricature. It's all of those things. And what it tells you about Twitter is that I think my most favorite part of this story is that Twitter says it's doing it to preserve the integrity of the news media. We're going to smash anything that we say isn't real news in order to preserve the integrity of the idea that you are getting absolutely uncensored information. And I'll just go on and say this about the source picture, Exhibit B. Look, I understand that people have jobs and serious jobs, and that when you're finished with a serious job, you want to kick back and relax. And if you ever needed any indication that this guy was a communist lunatic, all you have to do is realize he's got vanilla Oreos, and that pretty much clinched the case for me. But with that said, Steve, I'm serious about this. The picture of him is not alarming. People have barbecues and football games and all the rest of it. Him tweeting the picture of it is extremely alarming, because now here's an old word that no one knows the meaning of anymore. I thought it was originally ancient Sumerian, but it turns out it's a little more recent than that. It's unseemly. It is unseemly. It is the kind of thing that not only do you want people, it's the kind of thing you don't want people to see about you if you're going to be making decisions about the outcome of their lives, number one. So there's that. And number two, if you have if you lack so much judgment and your ego is so overwhelming that you feel compelled to post this picture of yourself on social media, then I have some genuine concerns about your character. This is not something he did when he was 14. This is something he did, you say 2017, something like that?
Yes, just 5 years old.
Okay, so I don't particularly think, let me put this as clearly as I can. I have no problem with a guy tweeting a picture of himself. However, I do not think it's seemly for a person who takes their job seriously to put that image of themselves out in public. Not that he's not allowed to have a day off and drink cheap booze and eat communist cookies. He's allowed to do that. But when you want to make a if you'll pardon the expression, federal case out of it and put it out there to the world, I find that to be a remarkable lapse in judgment and a strong indication of character.
Indeed. Scott, let's get back to what I mean to say. He does some really clever work on Twitter, and he did cave to the Twitter authorities. He deleted the tweet. He removed it from his account. And unfortunately, that tacitly means he agreed with Twitter's summation that this meme he created was somehow dangerous to the physical safety of our magistrate.
Of Epstein?
Okay,
sorry.
Of Epstein, who did not kill himself, by the way. So, Scott, what I mean to say is not like Libs of TikTok with 1 million followers and can afford to move to a different platform like Substack. He's not the Babylon Bee with, I don't know how many millions of followers the Babylon Bee had, but they've got enough of a presence that they don't need Twitter. He's a one-man shop with 7,400 followers last I checked, and you people should follow him. Bump that number. And this was his only outlet, and I guess he felt lucky to have it. What do you think you would have done in this situation? Would you have taken the stand against Twitter, or would you have gotten that outlet back? Because I'm sympathetic to this either way, honestly.
Yeah, and I do think it's a tough call because, I mean, obviously, if he enjoys the playground that Twitter provides for him, he doesn't want to get kicked off the playground. And to a certain extent, when you're on somebody else's playground, you got to play by their rules. At first, I was kind of in awe that Twitter was able to find such a marginally influential account that had some offensive material. But then I recalled that it was probably reported to Twitter. My guess would be somebody sent a note to Twitter and said, hey, this is troubling, at which point Twitter did whatever cursory human examination of the picture that they do and decided that somebody was trying to really make it seem like this was a real thing that was happening. I agree with Bill. It's like it couldn't have been more, or maybe it was you that said this, Steve. It couldn't have been more obvious that the thing was a joke. I remember years ago, I did one little visual trick on my Scrapple Face satire site where nowhere near this kind of caliber, but basically we had just landed on Mars. And in the first picture that came back from Mars, there was a Coca-Cola can that was kind of half buried in the dirt of Mars. And I remember thinking, okay, I want to identify who did this, but I don't want to interfere with the main image. So I put it in tiny little print on the corner of the picture so that, so eventually you'd find it. But at first I wanted people to have that reaction like, oh, is this something that happened? This guy didn't even try that. Like he made it in your face obvious that this is a joke meme. And so I think Twitter's application of their policy, which for whatever good reasons they might, I mean, this is not a deep fake is what I'm saying. This is not something where somebody goes, ooh, man, what kind of AI did they use there to make it look like this really happened? And in fact, when I saw, because the way you posted it at Instapundit, or I think it was you, you did this, right?
Yeah, it was at Vodka Pundit. Yeah, at PJ Media. Yeah.
Okay. So when I'm scrolling down, the first picture I saw was the picture of Bruce Reinhardt. And I thought, oh, somebody's having some fun. They're making it look like he's got vanilla Oreos and a bottle of whiskey in his hand or whatever it was. I thought
that was a real deal.
I thought that was the joke. Yeah, and I agree with Bill. It's like, if I were a federal judge, heck, if I were me, I don't think I would post that picture, but I think it's sadder than unseemly. I think it's just unfunny. So I think the guy thought it was hilarious. And because he thought there was such a contrast between who he really is and what this picture portrayed him as, that thus humor would ensue from that, contradistinction between those two things. And I just don't think it works because, frankly, nobody knows who he is. It's not like they took some upright citizen that everybody would be aware of and did that with it. Anyway, all of this said, the guy who posted this initially, I mean, my inclination would be to say to Twitter, stick it, I'll go somewhere else. I've only got 7,400 followers here. How hard can that be to develop on Instagram or somewhere else? On the other hand, who cares? Like, I mean, I can see him making the same argument to himself and going, okay, it's just one picture. I don't care. I'll do other funny things later and it'll keep going. This will generate some publicity and people will want to find me on Twitter. And I want to be found when they come looking for me as this story breaks.
Yeah, a couple of things to remember. The first is this thing didn't really go viral until after Twitter tried to squelch it.
That's right.
Stop the signal. And Scott reminded me of a line I hadn't thought of in a long time. Somebody once said of my dad that he was the kind of guy that if there was some kind of an emergency and you had to show up at his home at 3 a.m, he would answer the door wearing 3-piece pajamas. Now, I'm a lot more relaxed than my dad. But if I post a picture on social media, I'm going to be wearing a nice shirt. It's going to be pressed. And if I'm holding any kind of drink, I guarantee you it's the good stuff. That said, I joked about the majesty of the law and Reinhart, but let's talk about the travesty of the law here for a second, because this is important. It goes to the heart of this meme that got banned. Reinhart was a federal prosecutor who was on the team prosecuting Jeffrey Epstein for underage sex trafficking. That's about as serious as it gets. Back in 2007, he switched teams. He quit the prosecutors, went to work for Epstein's defense, and it's a pretty fair assumption that Reinhart must have used some of his knowledge from being a prosecutor to help put together the sweetheart deal that gave Epstein a 13-month day camp sentence where he could go out during the day and had to spend night in this prison. It was basically day camp for 13 months. Total sweetheart deal. Reinhart's the guy that put that together for Jeffrey Epstein, who did not kill himself. And then you flash forward to 2022, and Epstein is the magistrate, not even a full judge, the magistrate who approved the search warrant that, if you ask me, the Mar-a-Lago search warrant that was unconstitutionally broad, a complete fishing expedition. And the FBI took Trump's passports. They took privileged papers. This is all on the record now, by the way. This is incontrovertible. And the FBI now says, yeah, we shouldn't have taken that stuff, and we'll get it back to the president in 2 weeks. Okay, great. Total fishing expedition. So just remember who this guy is, and remember what this meme exposed, or at least made light of, are these, for lack of a better phrase, deep state interconnections between Reinhart, Epstein, the FBI, and all the rest of it. So there's something serious here, and that is why Twitter wanted to squelch it. And that is your right angle on that, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Hey, content like this needs sponsors like you. If you're not a member, you've been watching these for free, go to BillWhittle.com, make a one-time donation. We'd appreciate the support, or become a full-time member. We'd love to have you on board. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.